Welcome back to this video that I am so excited about. We are going to be hearing some of this Lokius. You can see I've already made some adjustments to some of the dials. I know this aluminum makes it very hard to see some of these markings, but they are adjusted. The EQ is set to on, but I'm going to switch it to off just to start. And I want to walk through what this is good for. You know, where it can fix headphones, if you believe in EQ or not, where it might still improve it for your own ears. It actually does seem to improve some things for my ears. I'm not huge on EQ myself, but when you have something like the Sennheiser HD800Ss, and these are known to be especially, I shouldn't say bright, but, well, they lack bass, so people might call these unnecessarily bright or shrill, but to me, they're perfect. I mean, in terms of treble. To me, the upper mids and the treble are beautiful on those, pristine, and I actually rank these in S. I think hardly anything plays classical as good as those at stock EQ, default tuning. But I want to make this video for anybody who is interested in the Lokius, who might have the HD800s, notoriously brighter, lack of warmth, and see if we can fix that. And also see, I think we're going to have a surprise. We're also going to see how even adjusting some of those upper bands that people know the HD800 already has plenty of, maybe too much of, you might think. But I think if you adjust some of these up, you might actually be able to tweak the 800 to be even more delightful, if you're into a brighter signature, like I kind of am. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. Today we're going to be running it off of a Bifrost 2 DAC going into the Lokius, which will then go into the X-Duo TA30 tube amp, which have some tube replacements. These is not the default tubes that you would get with this device. If you're interested in any of the stuff you hear, links will be in the description. I'm also going to highly recommend the Drop 789 here. It plays honestly, you play it side by side, they're not terribly different, but maybe it's just placebo. I like to think that the tubes in the X-Duo actually do warm it just a little bit, maybe give it a little more reverb, a little more natural presence. So that's what I use today. But please keep in mind, it's very similar to my ear as what you can expect out of a solid state, a pretty standard solid state with ample power. All right, and everything is running balanced, in case anybody was wondering, except until it gets here, because that's, of course, single-ended. But anyway, enough with the nerd part of it. I say that like it's a bad thing. I'm an audio nerd. You're an audio nerd, most likely. But not everybody is, and that's okay. All right, we're going to move on. I have a playlist here. This is actually my reference playlist that I've put together for pretty much every sound demo I'm doing and will do in the future. Let's just start with something like Mr. Blue Sky on the default tuning. So the switch is turned off. Okay? How does this sound? All right, now let's see how I can hear. I love these open backs when I make demos because I can hear it through the headphones, and it's just, I could hear how good that is from a distance. It's so lovely. Sometimes I even think they sound better when it's not on your head for some reason. I don't know if anybody else has ever had the experience of listening to these on someone else's head while you're in the room with them. But let's now go from the default to we're going to switch all the knobs to a default tuning. So when they're in the middle, it means that they're not going to adjust anything. Whether you switch on the EQ or you switch it back to turned off, it's going to sound identical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this off to start. We're going to resume that music, and I'm going to flip it on. You should hear no difference. So this is also a test to see if even just flipping the switch on makes a difference. It shouldn't. I don't hear a difference. I don't think you will either. But you never know. Maybe some of yours are better. And when I turn this on, as the music plays, I'm going to adjust these bands really far to the left and really far to the right. So basically the minimums and maximums, or the maximums you can deduct from that frequency range, and the maximum you can add to it. So you're going to hear some wonky stuff. I want you to keep in mind as you hear this, that as we go up and down to the extremes of any one of these, they each sound wonky for a different reason. But I think it's interesting to explore how each band makes things wonky if you go too far. I use that term a lot in my reviews and notes, wonky, but it's an accurate, it's a pseudo-accurate way for me to describe the feeling that I get from anything that's gone too far in a set. And that's what you can do. You have too much power with this. You can make things sound completely off kilter. And I just want to show you that. And then I'm going to show you how to adjust things just a little bit to make it sound beautiful. All right, let's start. Let's resume where we were. And starting off, then on, once the music starts, you'll notice no difference. And then I'll do those extremes.
Why you had to hide away for so long? Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
I probably should have said this before, but as you get into the mids where most of the instruments live, when we raise these to the max, the volume is also going to be pretty high. So maybe in edit, maybe in post, I'm going to lower that a little bit for you. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's do the next one. Upper mids, it looks like.
Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue, it's a place to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Hey there, Mr. Blue, it's a place to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you.
Okay, so in some cases, particularly with the sub bass and mid bass, which I'm going to loosely describe that based on the pictures here. I know I can go into the numbers on the website, but I really don't want to get into the ultra nitty gritty over which frequency range each band is responsible for and how much dB it's. If you want to do that, you can do that. You can look online. But I'm just doing this completely like you would if you bought such a box, because we're not looking at hard numbers on display digitized on here. We're looking at pictures, we're playing with dials. That's kind of the fun. That's kind of the beauty of such a simple device, because you can just fiddle with it and play it literally by ear. There really is something magical to that. I've tried software where you can like EQ everything flat and it makes the whole system change, and it's a whole like, and it has a lot of numbers and things on the screen. But I just want to listen to music, man. You guys know what I mean? I just want to plop down at my desk, put on some headphones, switch maybe a couple buttons on, and press play. That's what I want. And that's also why I generally don't like EQing, because there's usually on the software side a lot of different dials and different ranges, and it's only app specific, like only in Apple Music or only in Spotify or something like that. Or you buy for a hefty price some annual subscription for some software that you can use more for professional reasons than enjoyment. This is good for a laid back, enjoyable listener who just wants to punch a few dials and make magic happen with one of them, playing it by ear. Anyway, let's go back to the commentary. 2 bands in the bottom, honestly, I think, and we're about to try again some samples. I think these are the only 2 ones that I would mess with at least the HD800S. I mean, every headphone's going to be different. I can't be here all day going through every possible thing. So we're just getting a brief rundown. But on the HD800s, because they are so low in bass, you can pump these 2 up pretty much to the max, and it does not sound nearly as bad or wonky or off kilter or unnatural as when you pump these all the way up or down for the rest of the bands. Each one of these, especially if you guys notice with the upper bands here in the upper mids and treble, when you start to pump these to the max, for one, they get really loud and it's too much, so you have to dial down the overall volume if you do that. But for 2, you start to notice it almost sounds like there's a veil over the headphones when you pump it up in the upper mids, when you go it down. So if you go down in these bands, it sounds completely veiled. Let's try again, just to review.
I'll see what you do. Everybody smiles at you.
So if you go down on the upper bands, and I think that we can assume that this is probably going to be true with the Lokius on various headphones to some degree. Because what you're doing is you're altering a range that, when you hear somebody say something is airy or clear, usually it's just because the stuff in the upper end is higher relative to other things. And if you completely nix those things, you only get the lower end. It just sounds like muffles. It just sounds like warm, too warm. Like you're like, huh? You're straining to hear a lot of what you naturally do in real life. The HD800s do a great job on default tuning, I think. But now let's see what happens if we can try to fix it. Can the Lokius, let's add some warmth. And let's add just a little, I think, and I've done some experimenting off camera, so I don't have to spend too much time fiddling with you live. And I kind of made a discovery, and I'm excited to share it with you. Maybe you'll disagree. Maybe you won't think it sounds as good, but I think it sounds pretty good. Let's put on another track. Let's try.
I couldn't find myself last night. And I know where I'd be. Today I'm feeling so damn light. And I'm ready to be seen. I'm searching for abandon.
That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, it's hard for anything to sound bad out of these unless you go to extremes. All I did was a little bit more bass. Actually, that's a lot of bit, but... and I added a little bit more in this upper mids treble range, whatever you might want to call that. I actually have to look at the numbers on the site to see exactly where it is in the range. But this dial, the one I'm pointing at, the one with that picture, playing it by ear, this sounds good. Just lifting this up about, let's say, 2 o'clock, maybe almost 2:30 or 3, sounds like it really brings out that clarity that I'm biased for. And in fact, if I just lower the bass completely, and let's start from the beginning, let's just start from a default and see what happens when I just make that one tweak. It almost sounds like a completely new headphone, and it's just with using one of these dials. I could be happier just doing that one. Let's see what it sounds like.
There's nothing left to breathe. Like a fall all around this town. Is this so hard to believe? Everything I know about myself, not me. If you think you're losing focus, if you're still against this, well, sorry.
All right. Well, we could be here all day. Honestly, I have so much fun. And that's the thing. You got to get this yourself. If you have a desktop setup, if you have nice headphones, like I'm not going to try to convince anyone that EQing is better or worse for you. You is you. I'm me. And we all have different opinions, okay? Very strong opinions sometimes. Opinions sometimes that if somebody says something different, we attack them, which I think is very unfortunate that we see that in the community a lot. A lot. Really sad. I just listen to stuff and I try to translate what sounds good to me. And you can check my ranking list, and you might disagree with a lot of the rankings in that list in the description. But it's my ears, and my tastes, and my preferences, and my biases, and blah 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 blah. Rule number 1: if you enjoy something, don't let anyone tell you that it's wrong to enjoy it your way. Or, well, I mean, you can let them, but just, don't pay mind to it. You can't stop anybody from saying something on the internet, but don't pay too much mind to it. And for that, I will say this: I enjoy this. You may not dig the little fun box sitting on your stack that you can choose to or choose not to play with some dials and see if you get a different experience from your music. It's up to you. But I like having this in the stack. It looks good with my Bifrost that I already have. If you already have something from this brand, especially if it's the same color, I'm really digging the silver. Eventually I'm trying to replace everything with silver. I hope more people who make gear like this consider silver options because it looks beautiful, in my opinion. But I'm going to have fun taking things like the HD800S or the 8XX, which is coming out from Drop, which I pre-ordered. I've also asked for a review unit, and I'm excited to try it on the recording rig here and with EQ and all that. I'm excited to try the HE6SE V2, What a name. What a good marketing name. Why do headphones? Okay, guys, come on. Come up with a, like, Hi-Fi Man. You came up with Aria and Sundara. Give a unique name. What are with these numbers and letters everybody's doing? It's not a model number fresh off the factory floor with no market. You have people who want to buy these. Give it a fun name. Anyway, that's a tangent. Look, moral of the story is the Lokius is good. It's good fun, okay? It's fun. It's a few $100 for the Lokius, whatever it is, 300, 500. It's not 1,000 is my point. There's going to be a Lokius Max, I think they're calling it, which is going to be like 1,300 plus, something way up there. And it's going to have like motorized dials, I think, if I read what the rumors were correctly or the news announcements correctly. I think it's going to have a remote so you can sit back in your seat and play with it. I would love the Lokius Max for sure. Would I pay another $1,000 for it with my personal budget and where else I would pay for audio gear? Honestly, probably not for me, at least yet in my journey through audio, but maybe these little quality of life bumps, the motorized dials, the remote. I don't know if they're going to have digital readouts or more bands. I don't remember that. They probably have upgraded circuitry, but that might suit you waiting for the Lokius Max. Personally, I love this. I think this is great. It has balanced inputs and outputs, so you can put it to other balanced gear if you want to keep a whole balanced system. It's not true end-to-end balanced. I think there is an analog conversion somewhere in the circuitry, if I read correctly. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but it goes in balanced and out balanced at the end of things. So to me, it's a great affordable thing. I would prefer this over the cheaper Loki Mini. Personally, I also like how it fits the width of my current DAC. So that's just an aesthetic thing. I'll pay another 100 or 200 for something that has a couple more bands, balanced input outputs, fits aesthetically on my desk and my stack. It's just fun. It's just fun. To be honest, will I use this all the time? Probably not. But I'm going to use it a bunch to fiddle with things and explore. Maybe I don't want to switch headphones one day. Maybe I just want to keep these on my head, but I want a little more bass because I want more thump in my song. This box gives you the chance to listen to different things. It gives you the chance to listen to one thing at a time with only just some adjustments to get a new experience. It unlocks new experiences with less gear. I think that's the beauty of EQ for people who don't have a budget to afford all sorts of different high-end stuff. You could get one high-end headphone, this one, the STAX, and then you could just get this one thing in your stack for a few $100s, and you could fiddle for different tunings to your liking. It's not going to be for everybody. Again and again, I'll say that, but it is what it is. Let's try a couple more demos just to show you guys what I think, for the community's sake, is a good dialing, and just for some fun, and then we'll call it after that. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. Listen to this.
Stay here, ignorant forever now, change and grow toward a better now. Escape is over for the ever now. Survivors will know one, will know one. The reason why may not be found. Searching my confusion. Tell me why I can't be found. Help to abide illusion. Stay here, hoping you would never found change and grow toward a better now. Face it, uplift to the level now. Survivors will know one, will know one. The reason why may not be
Anyway, if you guys like these demos, if you want to see more of this, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. Link in the description. There's giveaways at the beginning of every month. If I have enough patrons, I'll keep the giveaway going. If I don't get a couple more patrons this month, I'm honestly going to have to cancel the giveaways. But please consider it. It's about $15 a month for the big giveaway tier, if you're into that. And it's $5 for a smaller giveaway, which I have no entrance in. So if you patronize, is that the right word? If you patronize the $5 tier, you're pretty much guaranteed for that prize. It's been great, guys. Please consider liking and subscribing as well. It really helps the algorithm, as they say, to like. Other than that, I think I'm good for now. I could go on forever going into my library, but it's just, we'd be here all day. Bye, guys. High recommendation.